Hey, good morning. Scott Luton and Greg White here with you on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Greg, how you doing?
Doing quite well, Scott. How are you?
Out doing outstanding. It's a big day, big show today, Greg.
Yeah.
We welcome back one of our all-time faves, but for his first live discussion with us here on Supply Chain Now.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Yeah, we've pre-recorded before, haven't we?
That's right.
Have we ever shown his face? Were they video episodes before?
That's a great question because
I know the first one probably was not because
right.
I don't think we were even doing video yet then.
I think the second and potentially the third one. I'm not sure. He's either had 2 or 3 episodes with us, but the second or third one was certainly video, but not live. But who we're talking about, Greg, of course, is Rick McDonald, Chief Supply Chain Officer with the Clorox Company, is here with us today. It just doesn't get too much better than this, right?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's ever listened to any of the episodes with Rick, they already know what an incredibly inspirational leader he is. Has done the doing and now is leading the doing. And he shared with us a lot about the culture of Clorox, which a lot of folks will get to hear shortly. Plus, and I don't want to distract people, the best do in supply chain, just my opinion. Coolest looking guy in supply chain without a question. So,
and I hear he could still handle the hot corner on a baseball diamond, Greg.
Yeah. So catcher in college, we should let him.
Was it catcher? I thought it was third base.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it may have been both at one point, but
he'll have to share a story or two, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, unquestionably. Well, I mean, Georgia Tech had it. I think they still have a pretty good ball team, but they had an incredible ball team when he was playing there. So,
man,
he's a legit player. Let's ask him what his batting average was too, though.
Let's do that. Triple threat, but not taking anything away. I tell you, it's amazing what Rick and the Clorox team have been doing over the last few years in particular. And we're going to talk about that, get some of his insights, hear what's new at Clorox organizationally and beyond. So, and better yet, we want to hear from you. So drop your comments in the stream based on what, how the conversation's going. We'll share as many of those as we can get to. All right, so Rick's joining us in just a couple minutes. Before he does, Greg, let's share just a couple quick events, right? We've got other learning opportunities for folks. Got a neat webinar coming up on August 2nd, 3 ways to stay afloat through the supply chain crisis, a distributor story with our friends at Enable. So join us that. The link to join is in the comments. And on August 10th, sustainability and profitability, the ripple effect of shipping less air. How about that? You ever ship air, Greg? It's no fun, is it?
No, we hated it, back in the day, but it's inevitable for some, in some cases. But, this story is going to be one of those that confirms that sustainability doesn't have to cost more. It can actually save you money.
Yes,
right.
That's right. So join us on August 2nd and August 10th for those. You'll find a link to that in the comments. But with no further ado, though, Greg, we have been really looking forward to today's conversation, reconnecting with the one and only Rick McDonald, Senior Vice President and Chief Supply Chain Officer for the Clorox Company. Hey, Rick, how are you doing?
Scott, I'm doing great, and it's terrific to be back with you and Greg again. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the session today.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks. I heard some of your comments on baseball. I'd really rather talk to you about my fielding percentage than my batting average. But a kind of a fun story about my time playing at Tech was we got asked one day by the coach if any of us didn't have class in the afternoon if we wanted to go to the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. This is before Turner Field,
right?
And be extras in a movie. And we're like, yeah, we all want to be movie stars. And so we went down there. We really didn't know what we were getting into. It turns out it was a Burt Reynolds movie called Sharky's Machine.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, there are a couple scenes at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium where the detectives are trying to figure out this murder mystery, and we are the extras in the background. You can see and hear a couple of my teammates really clearly. I was over at first base that day, and I'm just sort of this, blob running around in the short outfield there. So I know who I am, but you wouldn't be able to recognize me. But it was a really fun day to see how they made that part of the movie at the stadium.
Oh, that
That's
is
awesome.
awesome.
Probably the best $21 you ever earned, right?
We didn't get paid, Greg. That'd be in violation of NCAA rules.
Oh, of course. Well, it would have been then, right? For sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Now you could get credit for the movie. So
We'd like the name. Yeah, if we had name, image, likeness rights at that point in time, who knows?
man.
yeah, right.
The good old
well, I'm
launching
glad we
pad.
didn't, because we need you in supply chain, and with what these kids are making these days, they may never have to get a job.
Well, that's about right. That's
Well,
about
Rick,
right.
one final baseball question, then we're going to say hello to a few folks and then move into our interview here today. But Rick, was it catcher or third base?
Catcher and first base.
First base.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So never played the hot corner, but mostly caught, and then got thrown in at first base every now and then.
Greg's
Who-
always right. Greg, you're
Who
always
threw
right.
the
Dadgum-
best? Who threw the best curveball you ever caught? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, that I ever caught. We had a
Now,
guy
not
that-
the best one you ever missed with the bat.
Yeah, there are plenty of those. The best one I ever caught, a guy that played for us by the name of Eric Perry. He was a left-hander, and he had this great 12-6 curveball. It was a nasty pitch. Now, the best one I ever missed came from Jimmy Key, who played a long time in the major
Oh,
leagues
wow.
and
Yeah.
played with the Yankees, World
Yes.
Series champion. He played for Clemson when I was at Tech, and just unhittable.
Yes.
Wow.
He was a big part. I want to say after the Yankees, he joined the Blue Jays, I want to say, and
That's
matched
right.
up against the Braves in the early 90s World Series, 92, I think. We're going to have a real deep baseball conversation. But today, Rick, we want to talk supply chain and leadership and a lot more. But really, first, I want to make sure we say hello to a few folks. Big thanks to Amanda, Chantel, and Catherine, all the folks on the production team helping to make it happen today. Hey, Dr. Rhonda, also one of our favorites, tuned in from Arizona. Big thanks,
On
Dr. Rhonda.
PTO, if I remember correctly.
I think you might be right.
She might be doing this on a vacation. That's how much she wants to hear you, Rick.
We all want to hear Rick. But
Yeah.
big shout out to Dr. Rhonda. We've got a big veterans initiative coming up, and she's volunteering her time there. So thank you for that, Dr. Rhonda. Shelly Phillips is back with us. Shelly, good morning to you. Great to have you back. Joey says, just went to the local minor league Minnesota baseball game last night with his colleagues. Fun fact, he struck out Joe Mauer, a legendary Twins catcher, in 7th grade. How about that?
Nice.
Wow.
Impressive.
So we're gonna have to hook up with Joey and for that baseball episode sometime soon. All right. So you can't talk baseball, Greg and Rick, without thinking food, right? That's one of the first things that comes to my mind. So Rick, we're hard to believe, but halfway through July, it's like prime grilling season, even though it can be kind of warm. You're down here in the Atlanta area. A lot of folks, Rick, may not know that you're quite the culinary enthusiast and have been known to grill quite the meal. So with that said, I'd love for you to share one of your favorite recent meals, whether it's been at home or out on the road.
Yeah, this is one that I'll prepare really any season, but we've done it a couple times this summer, and it's basically a grill bake. Normally people would call it a seafood boil. We don't do the boil, but it's shrimp, it's crab legs, it's andouille sausage, it's regular sausage, it's little new potatoes, and then corn cut in half. And you start with the corn and the potatoes, boiling them and getting them tender. Then you throw everything on a Blackstone or whatever you have for your grill. What I like to do is I like to mix all that with unsalted butter, Old Bay, some garlic, and every now and then some paprika if you want a little bit more smoky. Mix all that up and let the shrimp go, and it's a fantastic meal. We love it. It's just really casual. You roll it out on the butcher paper and have at it. It's a fun way to commune and have a meal together.
Okay, you had me at butter, but Greg, how delicious does that sound?
It sounds spectacular, yeah. And thanks for doing that right at lunchtime.
Of course.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Dr. Rhonda confirms what Greg's was suspicious or what he thought. She is at the Grand Canyon listening in. Rhonda, you've got to send us some pictures. I bet it's gorgeous. Catan, great to see you via LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuned in from. Look forward to also your thoughts. And yes, Shelly, That does sound delicious and has made us all very, very hungry.
Had me at andouille sausage.
Yes.
You know,
As long as we have some
I don't know what it
heartburn.
is about andouille sausage and seafood, but it's just a
great.
natural, right?
Great combination.
All right, so we can check the box on baseball. We can check the box on delicious food. Let's talk supply chain. Let's start with some level setting, Rick. I think when we hear the phrase, much like CEO, when we hear the phrase Chief Supply Chain Officer, folks make assumptions and in terms of what you do day in and day out, week in and week out. Tell us about your role at the Clorox Company, Rick.
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Supply Chain Officer, as you noted. I'm responsible for about 6,000 of the company's 9,000 people. That's an awesome responsibility, and I really I love it. And obviously, over these last couple of years, it's been an even more important responsibility as we've navigated through this pandemic together. We operate in 21 countries. We sell Clorox products in more than 100 countries. And the supply chain for us is everything from sourcing through the consumer. So sourcing, planning, internal, external manufacturing, engineering, quality assurance, health, safety, environment, regulatory, continuous improvement, supply chain strategy. It's logistics is included in that. So everything you can think of that is part of the supply chain is under my purview. And maybe just a few words about Clorox, if I could.
Sure,
We're
please.
a $7.3 billion consumer packaged goods. Brands that you probably know and love, like disinfecting wipes and Clorox liquid bleach, but maybe some you don't know. Kingsford Charcoal is one of our brands. Fresh Step Cat Litter, Glad, Hidden Valley Ranch dressings and sauces, Brita water filtration, Burt's Bees. Those are all part of the Clorox portfolio. And 90% of our products are either number one or a strong number two in their category. And a fun fact about Clorox is we have super high household penetration. 90% of U.S. households have at least one Clorox product in them. So we're on a very short list of companies that can say that. And
90%.
we're also one of the most trusted brands in the U.S. Morning Consult just named us the third most trusted brand, and we routinely get featured by the Wall Street Journal as one of the best run companies in the U.S. in their survey. So we're really proud of all that, and we're most grateful for the trust that people place in the Clorox brands and in us.
Well, Rick, I appreciate. I think you probably surprise many folks, especially when it comes to your portfolio. But Greg, as we've shared after our last conversation with Rick, over the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, whatever it's been, we've had a great opportunity not just with Rick and interact and meet them, but a variety of other Clorox leaders across supply chain. Had the opportunity to tour one of their plants, and man, it is all about deeds, not words. You can see the culture, and we're going to talk about some of the hallmarks of what makes the Clorox Company so successful. But it's very real. At least that's been my takeaway. Greg?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I was thinking about all those brands. Virtually every one that you mentioned is in our house. And Rick, thank you, by the way, for doing such a great job with supply chain, because then you and I don't have to hear from my wife about it. So
Super important.
that is really important. But I think there's a couple things that really stand out to me, and that's that the CEO of Clorox doesn't just know what supply chain is, really engages and cares about it and makes it and has made it, even before the pandemic, a part of the strategic planning, the strategic structure of the organization. And that, to me, it is a key. That's an absolute key. A lot of companies are seeking that recognition now. Clorox has had it for a long time. So, and we have been talking, Rick, for, I don't know, is it 4 years, 4 years? And I'm curious, over that 3 or 4 or more years, I mean, maybe there's something you learned before the pandemic or something that you saw that has changed dramatically in the last several years. I have a feeling a lot of it has been in the last couple years, but I wonder if you've seen kind of an evolution and then this incredible disruption that caused change, or were we pretty much status quo until the pandemic hit?
Yeah, let me come to your question just a second. Just another word about Linda Rendell, our CEO. Linda is fantastic in her role. I can't imagine anybody guiding us better and leading us better through this most amazing last couple of years. She was actually part of our supply chain team back in her career. She spent a couple of years in our logistics organization. So her appreciation for supply chain started before that role, continued after that role, and she's a great advocate and supporter. And the best part of it is she also knows a lot about it, so she's able to challenge us appropriately as well, and we thrive on that.
Gotta love that.
Hey, Rick,
especially when they have a view of the broader spectrum and can relate to how supply chain contributes to that. Right? That's fantastic. Right. She's probably one of one CEOs that came out of supply chain. I mean, there may be a few others, but very few in big CPG companies.
Yes. Hey, really quick, Rick, before you address the evolution and the change that Greg was posing to you, I want to share a couple quick comments. Nikki Scott Anderson's back with us. Nikki's doing some fascinating stuff across Africa, really empowering folks from all walks of life to get into transportation logistics. So, Nikki, great to see you here today. Julie is back. She says, Clorox to the rescue. I love that. Great to see you here today. Dr. Rhonda, she didn't know all the products that we all rely on in our homes, to your point, Rick and Greg. We got EDL, I'm going to call it, tuned in from Waco, Texas. Great to have you back with us. And finally, Samantha is tuned in via LinkedIn. Samantha, let us know where you're tuned in from. Great to see you here today. Okay, so to Greg's question, Rick, change and evolution in the craft, as Greg loves to call it, which I love. Your thoughts?
Yeah, there have been a number of changes, of course. I'm really going to highlight quickly 5 of them. Predictability, leadership, talent acquisition, resilience, and automation. We think about predictability. As we see in the last couple of years, the level of disruption in the supply chain is really at an unprecedented level. It's extraordinary. There've been surprises all the way from consumer demand and how that's shifted and flowed to the interdependencies in the supply chain that have really created a lot of bullwhip effect within the supply chain over multiple rounds. And so I would just say predictability is one of those big things that is impacting us these days. Leadership, versus 5 years ago, I think we all felt like maybe we had a little bit more time to make decisions. We could try and achieve a more perfect set of data and, let's just say best information versus needing to go fast with imperfect information and then trying to correct and making adjustments after you've made that quick decision. The new normal is demand signals are distorted, that the consumer is changing their mind quite rapidly. And this is leading to a number of disruptions across the supply chain. It's requiring different leadership levels. So better real-time visibility, more automation, those are all things that are key in this leadership space. I would also say talent acquisition is the third area. So, the calculus on how we source, attract, onboard, and retain individuals in the company and all of our companies has changed significantly. And they're really, in my mind, there are a number of drivers, but the 3 that are most predominant is certainly during the pandemic, boomers retired at a faster rate than anybody expected.
Right.
Second thing that happened was there were about 5 to $6 million men, and they were men, who left the workforce for cash jobs or gig economy, just didn't return to what we think of as more traditional roles in the supply chain and in other industries. And then last but not least, individual savings grew substantially during the COVID pandemic because of inability to spend money and then multiple rounds of stimulus. And so people have their savings topped off and some just don't feel the need to work. So these are all things that have kind of layered into this labor bid and labor availability.
Okay, man, what a great starting point for this conversation. Greg, pick 1 or 2 of those and give me your thoughts on what Rick just shared.
Yeah, well, gosh, it's hard to pick one, but I think I'll go with talent, right? I mean, we had almost 5% unemployment rate in supply chain in 2019, right? And now supply chain jobs are more plentiful. I mean, distribution and manufacturing facilities have increased, especially distribution facilities have increased dramatically, right? And and as Rick said, people are staying away in droves. I just did a commentary on this very topic today on LinkedIn, and baby boomers left they were leaving at an incredible rate anyway, 10,000 a day leaving the workforce, and 3.6 million additional over what was expected left the workforce last year. And some of these are brute force jobs, or perceived as brute force jobs.
Yeah.
And in this great generational change, the new generations, they don't want those jobs.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult time from that standpoint. And I think we're starting to come to some new realizations in supply chain of how we're going to have to manage work. I don't even know if you call it workforce, if it's automated, for the future, right?
Hey, really quick, talking talent. Rick, you may know Shaker Nataranjan. Thank you very much, Greg. Chief Supply Chain Officer at American Eagle, also a fellow Georgia Tech alum. We had a chance to sit down with him the other day. And one of his priorities, to what Greg and you are both sharing, focused on talent, is creating jobs that get this crazy notion that people actually want. Day in and day out, that is one of his biggest focuses, and you could really feel it. It's palpable, his passion. Rick, that seems to be maybe y'all can have some kindred spirits in that regard, huh?
We're working on doing the same thing. We're well aware, and Greg, I saw your post. I thought it was spot on. People they perceive manufacturing and warehousing jobs as, NAM did a survey maybe a year or two ago. They perceive the jobs as dirty, dimly lit, unsafe, kind of dead-end jobs. And of course, what we have in our operations are everything but that. And what I think we have to do is create the environment where people are looking at this as a career destination that has cool technology. So that kind of speaks to my point around automation. Right. And it's never been more essential in the supply chain. This is not about a cost savings. This is about attracting people who want to come and work at your place because they get to do cool stuff like fly drones and maintain robotics and
be Iron Man.
Yeah, engage with RPA and AI capability. So we've got to rethink the way that we're sourcing and attracting individuals, and some of it's going to have an automation focus to it.
Yeah. On spot, money, on hammer meets nail, whatever phrase you want to use, Rick, 100%, as Jeff Francoeur would say. I hear that 5 times each praise broadcast. And I wish you'd shout it louder and preach it louder for folks in the back, Rick. That's what, as folks will piece this together, thinking and visionary thinking and wanting to change the current state is one of the things that separates leadership and organization at the Clorox Company from many others. So Greg, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think one other realization, and I think it's probably difficult for us, all of us here, being, I'm presuming, Gen Xers, and having grown up in a time when you apologized for taking your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents' jobs with automation or mechanization of some sort, right? Because those jobs started out as manual. Well, almost all of those people have left the workforce now, right? There is nobody to apologize to anymore for automation because it's not taking any jobs. Rick, to your point, the dark, dirty, dangerous, and dead-end jobs are perfect for automation, right? Yeah. Rather that a robot work in a lights-out facility than a human, for sure, right? And it allows us then to elevate these new generations who want fulfilling and challenging and technological jobs. It allows us to elevate them to those types of jobs rather than having them suffer, if you will, through physical labor that really is better done by a machine anyway. That's right. It's taking no one's job, literally.
You will have heard me talk about mindset, skill set, and tool set. And Greg, what you're talking about is, the leadership will to understand and affect the change and understand the change management be necessary as they go through upskilling and reskilling their associates into this more automated world. And there's going to be plenty of work for everybody. We know Gen X is a smaller generation. Right. Not too concerned about that. And people are hungering for jobs where they can apply their critical thinking skills and problem solving skills differently than something that is repetitive and transactional. There are just fewer and fewer people who want that kind of work.
Well said. Really quick.
No
couple
more
quick-
carpal tunnel, right? I mean, think about it. We could
Yes.
we could actually eliminate carpal tunnel syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Which is a lot of repetitive work.
Yes.
That's right.
And if you've ever had that and know the pain associated with that, I certainly have. That'd be a great thing to rid industry of. Greg, I know we're going to keep driving on some other priorities at Clorox with Rick in just a moment, but let me share a couple. Amanda and Catherine Chantel, let me know who this is. This might be Korai Koze. Who knows? Just passing through. Hey to Rick. Great to see you. Scott and Greg, you guys know how to get great folks on this program. Hey, we tried to tell you, Rick is the real deal. His nickname is Ric Flair. Y'all didn't know that. So the best of the best. Hey, Joey says, lots of great info, Rick. Full cycle challenges. The baby boomer discussion is eye-opening. Automation hopefully will help us repurpose talent into positions they will thrive at and continue to do so. Wonderful, Joey. I love that.
I agree with that, Joey.
Nikki says, it's hard to hear that people are leaving various industries because they don't like the jobs. Over 45% of our population is unemployed in South Africa. I fully support the idea of creating jobs that people want. Man, what a privilege. Well said there, Nikki. And this was
so a good point, Scott.
Yes.
Can I address that real quick?
Please.
Let's understand that the economics of the U.S. are not the economics of the world, and it may be different in different parts of the world. There may still be physical work jobs available. I don't think what Scott or Rick or I are saying is automate, right? And just automate. But
Right.
to the extent that you can't fill those jobs with human beings and they can be automated, automate them. Elevate human beings to those things that Rick talked about. You know, the things that humans do so well is critical thinking to solve urgent and critical tasks in rapid time with too little or inaccurate data. So that is something that humans can do that to date, anyway, automation and technology cannot.
Yep. Well said. Hey, really quick to close the loop here. This is Steve Vilmetti. Steve Vilmetti is saying hello to everybody.
Hi, Steve. How are you, Steve? Good to see you.
So, all right, we'll keep driving. And sometimes, by the way, to all of our listeners that may be commenting, if you see that LinkedIn profile where your profile is not showing up, it's just a security setting on your LinkedIn profile that doesn't allow it to be shared with third-party apps. You can change that so that your profile shows up if you'd like. But Steve, thanks for popping in today. Okay, so Greg, and by the way, Nikki understood 100% of what you just shared there, that clarification.
Channeling
so
Jeff
you, Greg.
Francoeur for you.
That's right.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki.
So, Greg, where are we going next with Rick McDonald here?
Well, I mean, look, you all have such an incredible leadership team. You have a great leadership philosophy, but also you're very, very good at what you do. And operational excellence is one of your foundational principles as well. So I'm curious, can you share a little bit about how you are imagining that or reinventing that approach?
Yeah, you know, one of the things I love about Clorox, and this starts with Linda, our CEO, and moves around through the organization, is this lifetime learner mentality. We're a very curious group of people, and we couple that with continuous improvement thinking, and that really permeates throughout the entire organization. So, you know, as we think about like where are we going next in our manufacturing journey, we've come up with this concept of operational excellence, and I'll give Jennifer Richter, who's our VP of Manufacturing, credit for this one. This is really about how do we leverage our assets better and differently, more throughput, better utilization, the ability to step on the gas pedal when we need it the next time. And we're looking at a 5% CAGR improvement on throughput measured by asset efficiency, labor efficiency, and material utilization. In a lot of industries, that's called yield. So it really is a very comprehensive look at our manufacturing assets around the globe and figuring out how we can increase associate skills to sweat our assets harder and leverage the capabilities that we have in our manufacturing plants. We're really excited about this. We think this is the next step in our journey of just continuing our move towards excellent operations and excellent manufacturing.
Mm.
You know, I think when you research great investors, right? Return on assets, return on capital, those are the things that they talk about that build value in companies, right? And I think it's interesting that you all have this mindset, skill set, tool set perspective around your people, the operational excellence perspective, and you underpin that with these really powerful financial things, and seem to do a really good job of balancing, because your customers love you. Obviously, you're 6,000 people, Rick. I had no idea. I don't know how you have time to cook anything. Love,
Hey,
love.
I'll tell you how I have time. I have a great team.
Right.
I have a really
Right.
great team.
Well, yeah, and we've gotten to meet some of those folks, and it's dead on. It is definitely a trickle down effect, and I guess that's kind of the point I'm coming to, is that because Linda has such a great perspective on how to balance all of these things, and when you have a leader at the top that can do that, it projects down throughout the organization, and it creates that culture of balance and synchronicity that you all have. And that's a rare superpower, even for any company, but certainly
Right.
difficult to maintain for a company with as many people and with as much market exposure as you have at Clorox.
Well, I appreciate that. We're also, I would say, we are our best critics. So we're pretty hard on ourselves as well. And there's got to be a good dose of that in your culture to have this continuous improvement mindset and the drive and the will to make things better.
Yep. Well said. Synchronicity. I love that word, Greg. And half the time I can say it, and half the time I can't. But
Half the
orchestration.
time it
also-
makes me want to start singing a police song. So,
Yes. All right.
As long as you don't sing Roxanne, I'm okay with that.
I think Eddie Murphy has got that one.
Right.
He's got
Nailed.
that market cornered.
Really quick, Dr. Rhonda, going back to, she says, carpal tunnel issues less common is definitely a plus for the manufacturing workforces. I agree. Let's continue to stimulate creatively in the workplaces, more fulfilling work of service, and contributions that support our collective success and well-being. That was poetic, Rhonda. I love that.
Keeping supply chain sane, that's Dr. Rhonda's job.
That's right.
That's what she does.
Health and wellness guru for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's. I want to talk about labor. We've already talked about it some. Rick, as you know, the topic of labor and workforce dominates many of our conversations that we're having, not just across global supply chain, but global business. Can you share? And I love one of the biggest truths you've already shared with us is that you and your team are your own biggest critics. We've seen that, and we've seen that in conversations. We always take away that continuous improvement. There's no finish line, and that seems to be alive and well in the Clorox organization. Can you share a few thoughts, though, around Clorox's approach to navigating this crazy labor market we all find ourselves in?
Yeah, I sure can. And before I get into that, Scott, well, maybe as a part of that, I would just go back and plug Greg's post on LinkedIn today. Again, I thought it was spot on. It's capturing the essence of, in part, why we're having trouble sourcing people for manufacturing and logistics jobs.
Right.
And there's a little bit of a recipe in there as well for the types of things that we have to do to make those more career destinations versus just somebody passing through or maybe not even thinking about us at all.
Yep.
Right.
For us, we're a strategy-led company, and our current strategy is Ignite. And a key element of that strategy is putting people at the center. And one of the best things I've always loved about Clorox is we, I don't know about everybody else, but I know for us, these are more than words on a piece of paper. These are the things that we live every single day. And putting people at the center for us means we pay attention to employee engagement scores. So we have higher engagement scores than most of our CPG peers, and frankly, most of a lot of other companies that are well known and global in nature. So we benefit from a highly engaged workforce already. We do well in the Bloomberg Gender Equity Index. We do well as a sustainable company, so we get listed by Barron's as one of the most 100 best sustainable companies in the U.S. And all those things contribute to a culture where when people come and they experience us, they generally want to stay. Now, having said that, we're having the same challenges attracting, onboarding, retaining people especially in our manufacturing operations. And so the current environment is really a huge driver for us to rethink how do we source people, where do we source them, how do we leverage social media in all of its various forms.
Right.
I find that's not a place where we have a lot of expertise just yet. But I would say we're experimenting with all forms of media and trying to find what's working in the local communities where we operate. And that's what we're going to continue to do. I think we'll have some efforts that result in the right kind of talent acquisition that may work in one place and not in another. So we're going to be we're going to be center led, but we're going to be very focused on the local requirements and what appeals to people in those areas. In a lot of our towns and cities, we are the largest employer. We are the employer of choice. It's not so true in some of the metropolitan area where people have lots more choices, and that happens to be where some of our bigger plants are and where we're focusing our attention at the moment.
Gosh, a lot there. I love how you're reinventing many aspects, it sounds like to me, of the talent strategy to navigate through this market. I want to pose a question, and I'm going to pose this to Rick and to Greg. And this comes from Catan. So Catan is asking, Catan, let us know where you're tuned in from via LinkedIn. If you had some succinct advice you'd give someone that wants to break into supply chain and make a successful career, become, a beloved chief supply chain officer for one of the world's most admired brands, what would be one piece of succinct advice for Catan? I want to ask both of y'all this question. Who would like to bat lead off for Catan here? Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Sure.
What would you share? What piece of advice would you share with Catan?
Yeah, I would say study supply chain principles. Reach out to just about anybody. Reach out to Rick. Reach out to just about anybody in supply chain. And be able to express what your gifts are. But when studying supply chain principles, I want you to forget 3 foundational principles that have undermined supply chain from the beginning of time. Cost is the primary driver. You are not forecasting items. You are forecasting the customer. And lastly, oh my gosh, I hope I can pull this out of my mind really quickly. Shoot, and this is the biggest one, but now,
all things being equal, yes,
that's right. Forget about that term. All other things being equal. Thank you, Scott, because they never are, right? And all 3 of those things are taught in virtually every supply chain text on the planet. When you're talking about all kinds of things, we forecast items. Even the beer game is wrong. We're forecasting beer. We're not forecasting beer drinkers. We need to be forecasting the beer drinkers or the grill masters if you're at Clorox, right? So
that's right.
Those 3 foundational principles need to be upended. But other than that, there is a ton of valuable information to learn. And there are many, regardless of where you are in the world, there are many people to talk to.
Yeah, really? I like that. I like that a lot. And what I would pair with that is get started on some practical experience. There are lots of places where you can have a supply chain experience, whether, pick something you think is going to get you up in the morning or you want to learn about that just seems intriguing, whether it's manufacturing or logistics or sourcing or engine, whatever your interest is and maybe where your capability is, get going and get in there and learn. And what you'll find is once you get in, it'll open up other vectors of the supply chain for you to consider. You'll learn more about other parts of the supply chain and the interconnectedness of this end-to-end animal that we have here, and it will spark your curiosity likely to want to go and explore other parts of the supply chain. So that would be my advice and on top of Greg's.
Love that. And Catan,
that's great.
You got to become a serendipity manufacturing plant, right? You got to create your own luck. You got to get real
That's
creative.
Really good, Scott.
Yeah, I would try. You got to get real creative with how you put yourself out there and make those connections. As I mentioned that Shaker interview the other day, he created a video resume for his first ever position. It was 7 months out of Georgia Tech. He couldn't find a job. He took a chance and sent in a video resume to the Coca-Cola company. And now he's a chief supply chain officer like Rick. So, man, don't take no, get creative, create your own luck. And just if one door shuts, one window shuts, closes, look for the next 7 to open. So thank you.
That was a really good. Yeah, that was a good question, Catan. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So lots of big fans of the answers you all have shared. By the way, we did drop Greg's post, which Rick has referenced. Hey, if Rick McDonald likes a post around here, we're going to share it and share it 7,000 more times.
I'm giddy right now.
Right. It's like getting a big autograph or something. Okay.
Yeah,
so Rick,
exactly.
let's keep
Rick
driving here.
McDonald.
So we were talking about the labor market, and you shared some of the cool things that you are doing, some of the neat, innovative things, different things you're doing to navigate it. Let's talk about one of the cultural traits that the market has referenced and recognized, that the Clorox Company, y'all developed quite the reputation for being able to demonstrate organizational responsiveness. And Greg, I'm going to say it, the R word, resilience. It's cliche for a reason. We all need much more resilience. We learned just in the last couple of years just how fragile, as many leaders have acknowledged, that global supply chain can be. When you've got this responsiveness and resilience that you find in companies like Clorox, you're in a better position to respond to all the curveballs and surprises that comes with global business. So, Rick, two-part question here. Would love to get your thoughts on the importance of this trait that folks recognize in Clorox, and then secondly, how has that become baked into the organization? How can other business leaders, try to do the same?
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing. It was innate in us, I would say, but not as finely tuned or exploited, if you will, until the pandemic hit. And then it was really, we were just thrust into the middle of it. I can't say we actively planned it or somehow we said, hey, this is how but we had to do it. We had to do it. We had to do it to keep our people safe and healthy in our manufacturing plant. As an essential business making life-saving products, it was just critical that we kept our manufacturing plants running at a time of huge uncertainty. And what we learned we could do was make a lot of decisions a lot faster without as much information. In fact, sometimes with information that 6 months before we would have said is totally insufficient, go back and figure out the business case, and then come back when you've got things dotted and crossed. And that's probably one of the things I'm the most proud of. We kept our people safe. We kept them healthy. We didn't have any COVID transmissions in our facilities during the entire COVID period, which is a testament to the leaders and our associates and, some work that we got from an epidemiologist we put on staff to help us kind of see around a couple of corners when we didn't even know where the corners were. We just we feel really blessed by that. We created some emergency pay for our associates, so they didn't feel well at work. They didn't have to come to work, and they still got paid. So we weren't forcing them to show up to maintain their compensation when they weren't feeling well. And then with the huge demand for products, we had to increase capacities, and we installed from November to February, went from empty space in one of our wipes plants to a completely automated line that doubled our capacity for Clorox disinfecting wipes. We did that in 9 months, and we did it with 175 contractors, most of whom came from international locations, working with the U.S. State Department, working with the White House Supply Chain Task Force, and really leveraging every single bit of gravitas that we had with anybody to bring this thing up in 9 months. It's an amazing accomplishment for our technical and our manufacturing team. So these are the types of things that we really found ourselves moving into. And these days, what we're doing is just continuing that approach of reminding ourselves we don't need everything ticked and tied. We don't need second decimal place numbers to be able to proceed. We're going to get a lot of things right. We're not going to get everything right, but the trick is when you don't get the things right, you come back very quickly, you adjust, you adapt, you demonstrate flexibility. And in this environment, that's absolutely a key leadership trait that we're valuing a lot.
Okay, Greg, there's so much there. Man, we're going to have to bolt on 3 more hours. But Greg, I'm going to get your take.
I've got time.
Quick. You got ain't no way, Rick. Rick's gonna let us do that.
Yeah.
But hey, really quick, all of that starts. I would assume I would propose with a leadership team that's committed to taking care of their people, which is one of the things that Rick mentioned. People being at the center of all they do. The other short list. You gave us a 3-point short list of true values last time we chatted. People at the center, that all you do the right thing. Do the right thing while you're still, thirdly, playing to win. And as I hear all of those moves that y'all have made in recent years, with the immense focus on taking care of your people, it is just remarkable. So, folks, if you want to learn how to do it, you start with being committed to doing it. Greg, your thoughts?
As you were talking, I could not help but think the awesome responsibility that you all had, second to none, at least until the vaccine started coming out. I mean, your job was not only to keep your people safe, but to keep the people of the entire world safe. I mean, what do you think people were reaching for when they were cleaning, right? So just an awesome responsibility, an incredible uptick in demand because of that. Great, what do I want to say, like pop-up factory innovations and things like that. I imagine Clorox trucks rolling into town like a revival's got, right? and all of a sudden there's a factory there. But I think that the thing that people need to recognize is that this is one of the companies, not that people with products, not that people wanted, but that people had to have. And they were able to deliver on that. And that is incredibly valuable. I mean, you and Linda and all of the rest of your team are not as famous as you should be. Even as famous as you are, you're not as famous as you should be for doing that. Because I just think about, what were we talking about? If you're going to go back to the office, if you're going to go to anywhere, it has to be cleaned, right? And I just, I can't. It's hard to overstate the value of that.
It's remarkable.
Service, really.
It's like a supply chain bedtime story, right? That uplifts, inspires, and challenges folks to do better. Hey, really quick, Rick, people clearly going to be a big theme of the conversation. We know, we've seen it time and time again. That's one of the favorite parts of what you do is recognizing people, especially all of them. But you have a lot of tenured team members at Clorox. And I'll never forget one of my favorite aspects of one of our previous conversations was around a team member. I think he was based out in one of your California plants. He was being interviewed. I believe it's NBC News. And I'm a paraphrase here, but this is the height of the pandemic. And the gentleman said, when I go into work now, we're on a mission. We're on a mission. And that, goodness gracious, could you imagine if Greg, to hear someone that works for your team to say that and be committed. Rick, speak to that if you would.
Well, it was a really great segment with Lester Holt, and we were honored to be able to participate in that. And we had several associates who were interviewed for that segment, and they spoke the hearts and minds of the rest of us, which was we were on a mission, and we were really after making sure that we were protecting millions and millions of people and families around the world, whether it was a medical center or a hospital or individuals in their homes, or maybe if they were going to work. And we took that mission very, very seriously. And you could hear it in the voices of those who were interviewed. We didn't really do a whole lot of coaching with them at all. It was just, talk about what you're experiencing and what you're feeling as you come to work every day. And they did just a fantastic job of representing the rest of us. And it's carried through to today. We realize we have some very important products in people's lives. And, not only our disinfecting products, but our products like Kingsford Charcoal and Hidden Valley Ranch and Glad and Brita, Burt's Bees, they make people's lives better. And while we're a health and wellness company, we recognize these other brands also are very predominant in people's lives and helping them live a more fulfilled life. And the purpose of the brands really gets played out in people's homes day after day and week after week.
Yep. Greg,
I can tell you, Kingsford's Hickory Chunks, they make my life better, unquestionably.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, they're great. They're great.
And to further that point, we just got one of those electric smokers, and I picked up a bag of Kingsford apple chips and hickory chips. Holy cow! Made some chicken drumsticks, made some baby back ribs, and the family was just falling out. It was great.
Game changer. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, you bet. All right, so Greg, Rick, I love. Look. I've got a Rick McDonald tattoo. I'm very, I wear my feelings on my sleeves. We've had the opportunity to see and engage with Rick and his team behind the scenes, and we do some of the stuff in front of the camera. But you see, what you hear is what you get. Very authentic leader, very authentic company. But Greg, what has been your favorite part? At last, he was just talking about his team and getting interviewed, and mean, your response to what Rick was just sharing there.
So I think if I remember this correctly, Rick, you had either spoken to one of those people or maybe even worked in a plant or visited their plant of one of the people that got interviewed on that. And that's the thing. That's one of the things that really cements the culture of Rick and the Clorox Company is he's out there in the field. He's done it, still doing it. I think one aspect you haven't really shared here is you really like being in the plant. You like meeting the team. You like seeing the operations go. And it's kind of like, it feels like at times it's kind of your happy place or one of them. And I think having a strategic leader who has such a passion for the operations of the organization is really incredibly valuable. And it bridges that gap between culture and operations performance and higher purpose. So I think that's what's so encouraging about what they do.
Well, I appreciate those. Yeah, I appreciate those kind words, Greg. And you're right. I do love being in the operations. These days in my role, it's a little bit less about like how are things going day to day, week to week. It's more about what are the barriers and the roadblocks that somebody has put in front of the team that's keeping them from getting to their objectives, and how can I help them solve that? So that's the thing that I'm going to when I go into our operations, I'm listening for the most. How can I help? It's also a great chance, and we did this several times through the pandemic, although not as much as we wanted to, but it's a great chance to get in and just say thank you to people for all they contribute every day, but certainly what they've contributed over the past couple of years. We had volume on some SKUs that was 500% of our normal demand. We were running 24/7. We did as much as we could to produce as much product as possible.
Right.
And that was a result of people just having the will to keep showing up day after day after day and grind it out. And we're really grateful that they did that for us.
Absolutely. The global community is. All right. I'm going to share a couple last comments, and then we're going to make sure folks know how to connect with Rick and the Clorox Company. Shashi, going back to that word resilience, says that the word from the dictionary was reinvented during COVID, which was the talk of the town across all the boardrooms. Still is. Right. So important to realize that in a meaningful operational way. Dr. Rhonda, Rick, that's incredible. Congrats on keeping those 6,000 team members safe. Julia's talking about growing green product demand. We'll have to circle back on that, perhaps. Julia,
there's a whole line of products.
That's right.
At Clorox.
That's right.
GreenWorks, right? Is GreenWorks? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Samantha is talking about the sustainable supply chain. Of course, we're that is front in mind for so many people. Dr. Rhonda, get this, says, damn.
She's cursing.
She is cursing. I'm a bigger fan of the brand now. Healthy workplace company with perspectives and a culture that is living in a way that values humanity. Thankful for listening in today. And hello, Alu Waloni. Great to see you here today via LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuned in from. Okay. So I think we've added Greg to our Rick McDonald fan club. We've added to the membership roster, I feel like, today, which was part of my purpose. But I really mean, I'm kidding aside, we're big fans and all earnestness and being genuine about it. I admire real leaders that practice deeds, not words, and you can see do the right thing, even if it's painful at times, time and time again. That's I always be big fans of those types of leaders. And Rick, I appreciate how you embody that. But how can folks connect with Rick? How can they learn more about the Clorox Company?
Yeah, the best way to do it, a couple different ways. First of all, you can find me and the Clorox Company on LinkedIn. And then if you want to look at our company, learn more about us, learn more about our brands, our brand purpose, our strategy, and look for career opportunities, you can do that at thecloroxcompany.com. And we invite everybody who's interested to come and join us. We think a lot of our Ignite strategy, and we think that joining the company, you can ignite your career if you're interested in doing so. We'd love to have you.
Outstanding. Well, Rick McDonald, on behalf of our entire team, thank you for spending another hour with us here. We know how busy you are, but Greg, we mean it. Rick brings it each and every time. He's like Dansby Swanson here lately, huh?
I feel like one of those people in the front row at a concert going berserk, right? But I mean, it's true. I mean, from the very first time we met Rick in a professional setting, and you could see should we swish him out so I can talk about him?
Let's do that.
I'm going to talk about you to your face, Rick. From the very first time, we could see the genuine authenticity of your leadership style and how effective it had been and continues to be. And we didn't even know what the potential was until the pandemic hit, and some task of keeping 6,000 people safe during that time and helping all the rest of us be safe is so incredible. And that it's such a huge part of the culture of the company. It's just exciting. I think companies like Clorox, leaders like Rick and Linda and the rest of the leadership team at Clorox, they will have a better time of it as they try to add to their rosters, right? For whether they be supply chain or sales or other roles, because the culture of the company is so evident and so genuine that it's just undeniable, right?
Rick.
Well, you guys, I mean, just don't know what to say. Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm very appreciative of that. I also want to acknowledge my team, who has stayed together through all this. Nobody's given up the rope. Nobody's left. We've just all been grinding away, and it's a testament to them as to what we've been able to accomplish. And I thank you a lot for the time that we had today and the chance to get to talk with you guys again. Really enjoyed it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, our
Rick,
pleasure.
there's so much more to cover. Fascinating hour with you. Really appreciate all you shared in a very transparent manner. And we'll see you again here really soon. Rick McDonald, Senior Vice President and Chief Supply Chain Officer with the Clorox Company. Thanks, Rick. Man. Okay. Folks, we told you. That's all I know to say, Rick, Greg, is we told you. He is much like, and Greg, as I think about it, we've had a chance, of course, to sit back down with Rick. We've had a chance to sit down with Tanya Jackson, Chief Delivery Officer with Lexmark last week for the second time. I mentioned Shaker Nada Ranjan, which we're publishing in probably next week or so. The approachability and the down-to-earth, keeping it real, while changing, in many ways, changing the current state, in some cases, changing industry. And that is a common theme amongst these three senior leaders. That's extremely valuable.
Yeah, I think when you talk to leaders of really powerful companies, they're going to be really powerful leaders, and what seems, and they treat very much like second nature or ho hum, it's just my job.
Right.
The more they treat it like that, it seems like the better they are. They don't have to repeat it. But you're right. I mean, we've had a number of leaders, as we've kind of started to expose more and more of these supply chain practitioners, had a number of these leaders who are clearly authentic and properly focused and equipped to do fantastic things for their people, for their companies, and for their customers. So it's inspirational. It's been a good week and a half, right?
I mean, great week and a half, great year, to have these conversations, because they are taking our industry to a whole new place while persevering old and new challenges in ways that we've never seen before. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the great comments. Shashi, I appreciate your feedback. Thanks for your earlier comments. Julia, great to have you back here today. Dr. Rhonda, wow, in an elevated mood now. People like Rick, get this. Wow, man. Rhonda might be a bigger fan than me. I don't know. People like Rick make our planet a wonderful place to live and work in together. Thanks, Scott and Greg, for having this segment today. Well, hey.
Just think about that. She's listening to this being elevated while she's standing at one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Right. So that's
Sylvia.
Awesome. I can't even imagine that feeling.
That's right. Sylvia was with us on Monday. She says, staying true and humble. Very well said. Agreed. Okay. We got to leave it there, folks. Thanks for joining us here today. Big thanks to Rick McDonald and Molly and the rest of the Clorox Company team for all their facilitation. Big thanks to our production team, Chantel, Amanda, Catherine, Clay, you name it, for helping to make the show happen here today. Thanks for everybody that showed up. and brought it, as always. Greg, always a pleasure to do these conversations and do these shows with you. But folks, it's time to act. There's no time like the present. So Scott Luton, our team, challenging you to do good, to give forward, and to be the change that's needed. Be like Rick McDonald, and the world will be a better place. You'll have a great time. We'll see you next time right here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.